Metaverse.
Really hope we don't get copyrighted.
We got copyrighted for that, I would friggin' spit.
Well, with all these Lord of the Rings copyright claims lately.
Oh, gosh. So, it might have been keyed off. What's the phrase?
I don't know, but let's move past it.
I am tired. Okay, you might have figured out what this video is about because you saw it in the thumbnail and title and clicked on this video. But if you didn't see that, you just somehow randomly came upon this video, you'll see that I'm holding the official Lord of the Rings replica from United Cutlery of Anduril.
It's an interesting sword, specifically because I have never held like a real version of it.
Yes.
So that colors my taste on it.
It does, because like comparing it to a regular longsword, let's get a height comparison here. This is a big sword.
Yeah.
Not huge profile taper on it.
How's this weighs like double this.
Except, yeah, this is heavy.
But that's not because the sword should be heavy, that's because it's not a real
Exactly.
sword.
This is actually why I wanted to do a dedicated video on Anduril. My love for it and some thoughts and feelings about it, and also, of course, thoughts and feelings about this official replica. We do have an affiliate link if you're interested in stuff from either United Cutlery or Honshu, link in the description below. And this is a pretty decent replica, but the thing is though, it is a wall hanger.
Through and through. This is not a functional piece. If you hit this on something solid, it will break. On top of that,
It's got a rat-tailed hang.
multiple times heavier than a real sword.
Yeah.
I can hold this out easy, I can move this around, and Shad will struggle. I can hold it with 2 fingers.
You bastard.
Go, try 2 fingers. 2 fingers on the side. But I'll try it as well. It is a heavy sword.
Yes.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah.
That's heavy.
But like, this is nothing. This is like, the weight of a real sword is just so gorgeous.
Like with 2 hands, yeah, I could move it a bit faster, but it's still not a real weight of a sword, right? In terms of the design though, what are you thinking?
Let's get to the design. And part of the design, I guess, is the first question I have about it, which is in relation to its size. Would you call this a long sword or war sword? Like compare it.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of
it's
in between them.
It's on the bigger end. It's not too much bigger than this long sword, granted. Let me grab our war sword and we'll compare. Okay, so it's a bit longer than the long sword. Comparing it to a proper size war sword.
This one is called the single-hand, the Honshu Claymore, I think.
It's the Honshu Claymore. I forget the exact thing. It's close, not as big. It's like right in the middle, isn't it?
That's what I mean. It's right in the middle of both of them.
And so you could classify it as either at this point, like a war sword or long sword. You're well within your rights.
I don't like that though.
Yeah.
I like one or the other.
Because pick a side.
Yeah.
Well, I think the real one, and this comes to the other issue about it, like this sword could be made with the proper functional weight easily in terms of its profile and design.
Yes. I reckon we could probably find like a good blade and just take these off and put it on a real, and like make a real one.
Almost.
Sure.
I actually think some of the fittings are too heavy. Like this bottom part here, it's all metal.
This is all stainless steel, yeah.
It has an odd design. I want to talk about the fact that its pommel is half the handle. That is not typical of many swords.
Do I think it's a big deal though? That's what I think.
Does it add too much weight? It might.
What concerns me more is how thin this tang probably is. Like just in a general sense, you're fitting a very thin tang in this sort of handle.
What if these were scales?
Oh, then it'll be
fine.
Yeah, I'll be fine with it. But they're not.
Scales with a leather wrap.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'd want a sizable tang, okay? But look, this is something that I'm not sure enough people have pointed out. And we didn't really talk about too much in our Lord of the Rings video. The metal pommel. The half-length handle metal pommel. I'm honestly, it looks gorgeous. I'm not sure about its functional justification.
I don't think it's it depends, right? If you make this properly and it's balanced, then I don't think it's that big of a deal.
It would almost need to be hollow. Well, of course, hollow for the tang.
This is the thing. It's like I don't care how you make it, but if it's balanced, I don't think it's that big of a deal.
Well, there are two other points of interest. Like, it has to be hollow for this part here, but it is also technically hollow right here. It's got a complete gap, and that's like almost like a fuller, an effect of having a fuller on the blade. It's removing a lot of weight because that's completely, cut through, which might balance it out.
Yeah. And the thing is, because it's not thick as well, it's very thin, meaning you can get some gloves on there and you're all good. You're not going to lose any indexing, anything like that. I don't think it's too detrimental. Yeah,
now the way it flares out in type of like a fishtail thing, I love. I mean, like you can slide, I think on this one, you can slide down and cup it right there. That's gorgeous.
Yeah.
What?
That sounded very...
Suggestive?
Yeah.
You wrap your hand around the shaft and slide.
Then it comes down to it. Would I actually use a sword like this?
Oh, if it was made well, yeah, I would.
Maybe. I don't know.
This is the question. This is the question right here. Another point to praise about the design, okay, is the flares on the end of the crossguard.
Yep.
Usually you want, the flares to flare up, but they manage that. Even though it's symmetrical on either end, you still have the upwards flare on either side.
Similar to a curved crossguard.
And that causes, when the blade comes down, right, sliding in, it traps the blade. See,
these are also rather big as well. There's some...
I like them.
I didn't say it's bad, I just said they're also rather big.
I like the bigger flared knobs on the end of the crossguard.
Again, yep.
And the nice knob on the pommel. Don't you like knobs on your...
No, I don't like
your tips?
knobs. Anyway.
So, for being a wall hanger, at least they got the fuller. Nice.
I think it could have been deeper. It has like no distal taper.
Oh, you're right. It could be deeper.
Yeah,
I'm just I was referring to how straight the lines are, which is, that's good. Like those are nice crisp lines, but you're actually right. They could have a deeper fuller. Yeah.
And why this is so heavy is because this is a maybe 4 or 5 millimeter thick stainless steel, and it has
no distal taper really. Yeah. Like it is about as thick up here. All right. Well, look at that, right? As it is down near the base. Didn't the dwarves first make it? Because it was Narsil, then it was shattered and it was the shards of Narsil, and then it was reforged as Anduril.
Yeah.
And I think Narsil might have been made by the dwarves. I know the lore. Look, guys, let us know in the comments. But the elves reforged it. And if they were reforging it, they needed to, by the way they showed them reforging it in the movies is complete nonsense. Clearly some magic was used in that, because that is not how you reforge a shattered blade together.
I haven't watched the trilogy in a while. I know I should. Didn't they just heat them up? And it wasn't just...
They just aligned the shards together and bashed on top until the point they were...
Forge welded. But
not even proper forge welding.
But the temperature, if I'm remembering, this is just off the top of my head, wasn't it just red hot? Not even forge welding temp?
I mean...
Anyway.
So if you had a shattered blade, the only way you could reforge it into a proper functional one is to smelt it down and start over.
Well, I much prefer that method than like Game of Thrones, where they just pour
it into a mold.
That is
bonkers. That's no.
Didn't they do that in Conan as well?
Yeah. And the only way you could pour steel into a mold is if it is cast iron. Cast iron is iron that has such a high carbon content, it has surpassed the standard carbon content that steel has. You start with wrought iron, below steel carbon content, then you get into the ranges of steel, and when you pass it, you get into cast iron, which is brittle, it would snap, and it would, they do pour steel into molds, but that makes cast iron molds, also called pig iron, and that needs to be forged down or decarburized if you want to make usable steel out of it. Overall, Anduril is actually a gorgeous design that I would love to see a functional version properly made with distal taper, proper weight reduction. The pommel will be interesting to see how they execute that. There are people for, like, you know, blacksmiths that have made functional
Yeah, I've seen functional ones of the Strider sword.
Yeah, yeah.
I personally like that design a little bit better, but if I'm being honest here, one of my favorite like sword designs in all of the Lord of the Rings, the live action stuff, is Gandalf's. It is drop dead gorgeous, leaf blade. It has this same sort of contoured grip, but the whole thing with a very similar pommel. It has a curved crossguard. It is perfection.
There is something else that is actually a little out of the ordinary for Anduril, and it's the shape of the handle. It's a diamond. It's a diamond. If we can get in and have a look, do you see the ridges here? It's a diamond-shaped handle, which is not ordinary.
I would say...
How do you reckon that feels? Like, I think it contours to the hand well enough, actually.
I would say that there are similar ones. This one I feel like is very aggressive. That's why
it is pretty aggressive on the edges.
I think it's perfectly fine.
I mean, I do prefer oval. Oval is just like so comfortable.
I think the reason...
Or a hexagonal. Flat hexagonal.
Yes.
Flat hexagonal.
I think what lets this one down in this specific instance is because this is such a heavy sword, it puts a lot of stress on it. But that's not the grip's fault, because a proper blade should not do that. It's just this one is so ridiculously heavy. I don't mind it. I like the risers giving texture.
The risers actually, that because your fingers naturally want to find those positions, and they just kind of fall into the grip structure. And actually, yeah, I agree. It's quite nice. But it is interesting upon closer inspection, this handle is actually quite atypical. It's got some, the shape of the handle, the length of the pommel, are very odd things that actually work. And you know what they've achieved by doing this? It feels somewhat historically valid without it actually, when I look at this, I don't think I'm looking at a medieval historical period sword. It looks fantasy because of those changes, yet still functionally and even somewhat historically plausible.
I think it's just a bit big.
You reckon? I like
I reckon
the
if
size.
you made this exact sword
like
just this size, I got no problem with it.
I like it. It's a hero size, man.
Don't do the sword thing.
No, this is a standard stance.
No, it's not. It's Nate commenting on it every time.
like-
Chad loves to do the...
It's like when you check out our fight scene,
Yeah, check out the fight scene, yeah.
because it's a functional stance and I use it.
Yep, all right. I think that's all for today's episode.
Now, if you want to see us check out some of the other Lord of the Rings swords, yes, we talk about Andrew, but nowhere near as deep and detailed as this. But you do get to see us comment on a heap of other Lord of the Rings swords. What about the bad ones?
Yeah.
We look at, there are bad designs in the Lord of the Rings films, some that people aren't aware of. Dedicated video right there. Check it out. You'll love it. And subscribe, because people are missing out on recommendations. So subscribe so you don't miss out. Hope to see you there.